Welcome to On the Square. Excuse me. This is Mykal Kafi. The subtitle is Health, Wealth, and Self, and I got that from KRS-One. It's a rapper, old school rapper back in the days. I thought it was a good subtitle, and I don't know where he got that from. There is a website that have a similar name. So at that time when this came out, I don't think they had those websites at that time. Now it's commonplace every day. So KRS-One was, I think he came 86, 87, somewhere around that time he came out. I don't think they had all these podcasts around that time. I'm not saying there wasn't any, but we do have a lot right now. A couple of things that I normally talk about is that we all have flaws and we should be working on ourselves. So I try not to, it's fun to criticize and attack people. To me, it was fun, but I don't do it. And I try to avoid attacking people. But you turn on the TV, somebody's getting attacked. Somebody's being called low IQ or whatever they're getting labeled. And I don't think that's cool. In this kind of environment where people, they get angry and they can't control their temper. So I really don't, support getting on a mic and calling people names and stuff like that. Once you working on yourself, that's the first priority. Then you go to your family. And I know it's tough to help your family because as soon as you help your cousin, some other family member is saying, you didn't help me. And then, so you have that chaos. And then once you try to help family members, then you should go right into your neighborhood and see what thing you can do, whether you volunteer or whatever, you can help your neighborhood. So start on yourself, then help your family. From your family, go into the neighborhood and see what you can do. And don't burn yourself out, but you can try to make improvements. Politically, I'm a third party, even though I know most third parties candidates don't win. Even though the mayor of New York City, he won. So he surprised a lot of people. But you usually don't win. You usually need the two party to financially back you up to have you win. So when you look at a lot of these people, Goldman Sachs and a lot of investment banks and people like that pour in millions of dollars of donations to help that Democrat or Republican get elected. But I try to go with politically the local election. So you're talking about the working family, the Green Party, and all that stuff. You want to go politically more local than federal. Also dealing with I don't really get involved with organized religion. I call it functional spirituality, which that means that you're dealing with a concept that can be applied physically. So when we're talking about you reap what you sow, those kind of terms, it has a physical consequence. Like some people say, if you do this, nothing's going to happen to you because it's more, what's the term I'm looking? It's more metaphysical. So you will never see the manifestation of that physical action. I'm not saying you're not going to get no consequence, but you don't really see it. The way the system, I'm not going to call it a deep state. The Republicans like to call deep state and all that kind of conspiracy concepts. What happens is when you rock the boat, you have what they call, you get discredited, meaning that somebody's calling you crazy or worse. You also can be thrown in prison or you get neutralized. So these are the three responses that can happen to you when you push the system and they don't like it, they push back. And some people don't want to deal with that because it hurts when institutes push back and you don't have the resources or you don't have a team of consultants and people that is inside doing an inside job in those institutes to get back to you so you can try to maneuver. I'm trying to think. I do listen to Glenn Ford, but I think he passed. So you're looking at something that was pre-recorded. But to my knowledge, he's not alive, or he's unlive at this particular time. And it's tough to find someone that you can trust that bring you information that you feel is reliable. I'm also looking at you have what they call Flood Alley, and that's in Texas. That's underfunded. So a lot of places, so you've seen it earlier in the year, you've seen camps for young people that they got flooded. You also have Tornado Alley, that's in Oklahoma. And you also have Cancer Alley. And I'm trying to think, it's more near Mississippi or that Delta area down south. So don't quote me on that, but it's somewhere in down south. And a lot of people that fight injustice dealing with the environment, they're familiar with Cancer Alley. Right now, nothing is ringing a bell to me about the location of Cancer Alley. I know it's down south, and it's near the Mississippi River, and it's also dealing with places that's dealing with processing oil and fuel. So it's tend to contaminate that area. I haven't kept up with how many killings have been mass shooting for United States. I'm looking at a stat which is outdated. I have 254. That's not current. So I'm not going to use it. I really don't understand why they didn't reinstate the ban on assault weapons. And again, I'm like, if you need assault weapons for self-protection, I don't know what's attacking you at your location that you would need an AK-47 to fend them off. I'm for powerful guns, but not a weapon that was built to eliminate as many people as soon as possible. You got somebody, you have a gun that is just shooting high level of bullets everywhere. So again, I don't know your situation wherever you're living that you need an AK-47 for home defense. So I'm basically saying that I'm against assault weapons. Now, I'm not against guns. I think it's a necessary evil in a cultural that we're in the United States. There's more. I think there's more guns in the United States than people. So everybody that you ever seen, they probably own a gun. So we're not in a bad predicament. Some of this stuff I'm skipping because it's going to like a direct attacks to individuals, which I kind of don't want to attack anybody. And as you can guess, a lot of them are Republicans and conservatives. Not because I target them, and they just do some stuff that make you scratch your head about. They always talk about American first or make America great again. And they say a lot of stuff, catchy things, and pulls people in. But you got to look around. I think when you say make America great, you're talking about a certain group of American people. Because if you look at the beginning of when you start this whole, I don't want to call it experience, but that's what they call it, the experience. You had white males were able to vote, own property, and things of that. So to them, this is the greatest country in the world when you have that advantage. But for women, it took a minute for them to be able to have credit cards and things like that on their own. Yes, most of these women was married to white men, so they had some kind of benefit from marrying a white man, but you also was under control of that man because society was looking to control women and stuff. And then when you look at conservatives, the quickest place where they will blame women is the feminist movement. So that organizing women to have power, or they like to say, you have these women that say we don't need men. So that just go against their mindset when dealing with the women in this country. I believe there's some amazing women. I've met some very physical. A lot of people want to say, like, I look at these shows where they showing women trying out for special forces. And you have the same argument that the women can't carry a person that's injured. They don't have the physical strength to pick this person up and carry them out of the fire zone or the danger zone that they're in. I know some extremely strong women and stuff like that. So I know there's women out there. They might not want to join the special force, but I know they can pick up a guy and bring him to a safe location. So you have these guys, and I know some real weak men. So what's the argument? You got strong women and you got weak men. So I wouldn't get caught up in arguing if women can carry a man to safety, and I also get in an argument. You have some men that can't carry another guy. So what do we do with that information? So it's tough. I just don't think we should be attacking women the way certain conservative men attack women. And also, I think you have women that do great work in the military. So what, you're just going to just push them to the side and don't act like they're not functional in the military? But I think this being pregnant and have no shoes is the role of women is not cool. If a woman want to be at home and pop out babies, and that's what she want to do, if you find a woman like that and that's what she want to do, and you don't have a problem with it, so be it. But nobody should just look at a woman and just say, that's your role. God put you on the planet and you just pop babies out. So again, just some of this stuff is so outdated. And I get that just because something is old doesn't mean it don't work in today's time. When I hear it's the man's job to provide for the woman, I'm like, when that statement came out, it wasn't a bunch of corporations around. You know, most people were they worked on a farm. So that's what, when you look at the school had summer school because so they want to send the kids back home so they can harvest the fruits and vegetables and get it to the market. And that's why you had a lot of families that had huge numbers of children, because those children was the labor force. They wasn't taking resume. They were taking their individual children and having them work on the farm. It wasn't a bunch of corporations, hiring these individuals. It was mom and dad job to stock the farm would help their sons and daughters. So yeah, during those times, it was the man's responsibility to take care of the woman, and that's an economic situation. You got women that's making more money than men. Back then, unless you was you was a queen or something, you wasn't making more money than a man, unless you was doing something that was illegal. So the time was different. So I'm not a big fan for people to say, if you're in a marriage, you should be working to be as a unit, to have that relationship as strong as possible. Like a lot of times you hear women say, he worked too much. He don't pay me any attention. If he's stuck in that, I gotta provide. And I gotta pay everything. I gotta pay the mortgage. I gotta pay for your shopping. I gotta pay for your car insurance and all that stuff. Yeah, he's gonna be working a lot. But now you're penalizing him for working a lot. That's not cool. Either you cut down for what you expect to get out of this marriage, or what you think you're entitled to. Or that guy has to kill himself to work a lot of hours to be able to buy those things that you think you deserve to have. And now you're going to get mad because he's never at home. If he's at work and you call at work and say, is Bill there? And he said, yeah, he's working. So he's at work working. So, you can't have everything, But I firmly believe if you're in a marriage, I'm not talking about a traditional marriage like this, that was going on. I'm talking about a marriage where you're both mom and dad is working together to try to get what they need, So, you got a lot of crime shows, and it's depressing when you watch it because there's always got people cheating on their spouse, and they come home and they snap, and something goes really bad. And that's the problem with emotions. If somebody really, really, really like you or love you, it's hard for them to see you with another person in the house they help provide it for you. So I don't have a solution for men that snaps when they see, or a woman that snap and see their husband or boyfriend or father of their child with another person, and you didn't get the memo saying that I quit you. It's going to be emotional. I don't know if you're familiar. There's a show called Cop Talk Live. I think it's out of Jacksonville, Florida. I'm assuming Jacksonville is Florida. I'm trying to think. I want to say that the host is William McNeil Jr. And he's a former police officer. So he gives a perspective as a citizen, because when you listen to some of these former cops, they present that police don't do anything wrong. So Cop Talk Lives, he gives examples where he disagree with the police, not because he don't like them, because he's a former officer, but he's saying that if he was put in that situation, he wouldn't do what he's seen that particular cop did on the tape. So he's like us saying that, was that really necessary for that, to try to resolve that problem? And this again, the 442 combat team from the World War II, and that's a Japanese unit that was fighting for America. And I'm like, okay, so how many people knew that United States had a Japanese military, and it's called the 4042 combat team? That's crazy. everybody hear about the Japanese that was put in the camp, because where America was fighting Japan, they put a bunch of people into a camp and stuff like that. So I really don't get that, because you also, so what was the difference between the ones that you put in the camp and the one fought for America? So you got one group of Japanese fighting for America, and you had another group that you put them in prison. Well, I want to say prison, but a form of you can't go anywhere. So you're stuck at this location. I'm gonna bring up a quote from Charlie Kirk, but I'm critiquing him, but I'm not really attacking him. He was saying on the camera that if he's seen a black pilot on a plane that he's about to get on, he's wondering if that pilot is qualified. My response to that is there are not enough black pilots for you to make that statement. And I don't have the percentage off the top of my head, but I know it's low. I don't even think it's 1% in the United States of the pilots are black. So for you to walk on a plane and see a black pilot is rare. It's like you seen or something like a magical creature or something. It's not likely that you're going to see that. For you even to come out your mouth and say that kind of statement, what are the chances of you seeing a black pilot? And for those that fly constantly, they don't agree with me. What I'm talking about for people just randomly going on a flight, the chances of seeing is very slim. If you're flying every month or every week, you probably will dispute what I'm saying. That's a lot of flying. But if you are just rarely taking planes, you're not going to see a lot of black pilots. But see, by him making that statement would cause you to be fearful. And for me, I'm fearful of any pilots. It don't have to be any particular. You're up in a plane. The only thing that's holding that plane together is screws and nuts. I'm not happy about that. And a lot of things can go sideways, like a bird flying in the engine and stuff. So I'm not a big fan. I mean, sometimes you gotta get on the plane to get where you need to go, but not a big fan. the page I skipped over was dealing with hip hop. I really didn't want to, not because it's not important. I just didn't really want to talk about hip hop right now. And also, like, personally dealing with me, I kind of don't listen to hip hop anymore, but I used to listen to hip hop all the time. It was my first choice and stuff. And the stuff that they play now, I just can't do it. But, you know, I'm not trying to stop somebody from eating. I'm just saying that I just can't. I'm looking at here, this historical stuff. You have a guy that you see his name on the toilets, but he's also credited from, and we're talking about 1873 of created. So we talk about in America, created or credited with inventing the bathtub in America. But if you go past America, it says the Moors brought the concept to Europe. That's interesting. Then before the Moor, India was first to be recorded of having the earliest bathing or regular baths. So we talking about India. And the oldest bathtub used off an island off of Greece. That's interesting. Because this information is saying the Moors brought the concept to Europe, but they're saying the oldest bathtub was discovered off the coast on an island off of Greece. And that just went off the topic, I know. But I like to share stuff that not necessarily what we're talking about. Because they got a book called Dirt. If you look it up. And Dirt spend time on the washing behavior and trash removal of people that live in Europe. And there's a lot of non-white use that book to criticize Europeans, but I'm not gonna bring up the book. Yes, I do have the book, but I don't think it's necessary to bring up. But I just gave you some stuff on the with the Moors in India and the Greeks in terms of bathtubs and stuff like that. HUD put out a report in 2024, and I've been calling them because you can pull it off the online, but you're talking about that's hundreds of pages, as nobody's going to copy all those pages. But they're trying to put together examples on how to deal with the house shortage in America. So it's supply and demand and stuff like that. And in my opinion, it's done on purpose. And also you have these big investment firms buying up regular house. Usually you don't have a lot of these investment firms are the same firms in 2008 and when Mykal Milton, and I don't remember when he was doing the junk bonds. I don't want to give the wrong date, but him, Ivan Boski, Greed is Good. Those individuals that have destroyed this country. I mean, for themselves, they made a lot of money, but they have destroyed America. Because what's the problem with America? And when you say America has a problem, now you're anti-American. What's going on is you have people in America, all they care about is making money. They're not looking for solutions like a cure for cancer. If you're able to come up with and I'm not saying for every cancer, but a cure for cancer, you don't think you're going to make millions of dollars? And I'm not suggesting that you do it for profit, but I'm just saying I'd rather come up with a cure of cancer than sitting there and come up with these phony investment schemes and stuff like that, and Bitcoins and all that crap. I'd rather have a healthy population in America than all these investment schemes. And I know somebody in their house, business major, saying, well, if you have somebody making money, they can take that profit and give it to a person that's trying to find a cure for cancer. And that's how you do it. And that's called capitalism. I don't believe that, because the minute you make money, you're not looking for no cure for cancer unless your brother got cancer or your father got cancer. Because what you're doing is thinking out, how can I get the biggest yacht that I can put on the coast of San Francisco or on Long Island or Maryland, somewhere like that, or New Orleans, places like that. That's what's on your mind. Awesome. This was on the last page. I was going through all these notes, and the name of the show is On the Square, and I also recommend these books. One is Black Labor, White Wealth by Dr. Claude Anderson. I don't think who Dr. Claude Anderson worked for. I think he worked for, don't quote me, I think he worked for Jimmy Carter, President Jimmy Carter. But don't quote me on that. Medical Apartheid by Harriet Washington. I think she started off to being in the medical field, but then she ended up being a journalist for medical journals to tell you what's going on in the field. Here's a book, When Work Disappeared in the World of the New Urban Poor. And this book came out in 1996. I think you might think some of this stuff is outdated. But if you read it, you'll see that a lot of stuff is not outdated, because what the book is talking about is taking work and sending it somewhere else. So they're still doing that today. So it's not that outdated. And a lot of places a lot of work don't need to be shipped out of the United States. You have AI. AI is picking up that slack. Shoot, they don't even want to hire human beings to fight wars. They want to use drones, if you're paying attention. So Black Construction in America, and that's from W.E. Du Bois. Now, that book, if you read that book, and so that book got to be written in the 20s or the 30s, but that book will educate you on blacks in America. You don't have to listen to Tim Wise or Roland Martin or any of these guys that you see on the internet. You read that book will keep you updated on the history of blacks in this country. Another book, How Did Europe develop, was the same thing to me, Africa. And that's by Walter Rooney. That's a good book. And that book was written in the 70s, I think in the 70s. But a lot of stuff is current. It still applies to what's going on in Africa. Another thing, what I call the elite, what I'm talking about is very wealthy individuals. They don't want living wage. What they want is to replace humans with AI, robots, and laid off people. This system of profits over people and nature. That's what's going on. They don't want it. So the Bill Gates, the Jeff Bezos, the Elon Musk, all these individuals, they don't care if you get employed. They don't need physical labor. Use robotic arms. You ever seen those commercials where you see McDonald's, they got robotic arms flipping the burgers? That just took your position. You know, they really don't need you. And robots don't get COVID, so they really don't need you. Now going back to me, I vote for policies, not parties or personalities. Yes, personality can persuade you, but if they're selling you junk, just like a used car salesman, because you know you want that car, but it's a lemon, it's junk. But if he see in your eye that he can convince you to buy that lemon, he got you. Now the medium age for the people in the Senate, 65 years old. For the people in the House, it's 58 years old. It's time. These people. It's time to get. And I don't think 65 and 58 is old, but it's time to get these old heads out. Unless they got real good experience, and they can they can mentor a young person on the root of laws and how to navigate chaos. But I really want to get these old heads out. Now, some of the people that I listen, Tom Hartman, very good. I don't know his philosophy, but the information he shared is very good. I don't know if he can be trusted. Some people I just don't trust, even though I listen to them. Professor Richard Wolf, Sister Soldier, very powerful sister. Amos Wilson, the late Amos Wilson. Glenn Ford, the late Glenn Ford. Garris Hayes, which is a young, so I think he's in his 20s. Don't quote me, but I think he's still young, so I think he's still in his 20s. Calvin Mykal, very good brother, able to push out the information and it's chewable that you will understand on complex principles. Calvin and then Garrett Hayes can do the same thing. Both of these two brothers can break down molecules and make it, you're able to dissect the information. Chris Hodge. Chris used to be out in the field as a reporter, so he used to be in battle zones, people getting shot up, and he's up there writing what's going on. Ralph Nader, which is extremely old, so I don't know how long Ralph Nader is going to keep going, because he's up there. And Amy Goodman. And Amy do a lot of good work. Again, I don't know Amy's philosophy, but she do a good job of sharing information. Because in America, you hear from somebody, and then you like that person. And then when you hear their philosophy, you no longer like that person. You see that person as a very mean, deceptive person, even though they're sharing good information. And I'm not saying that's Amy, but what I'm saying is you will hear from somebody and you like what they're saying, and then you really find out what they really stand for. You stop liking them. And I'm a big fan of Clint Eastwood movies, but I don't like Clint Eastwood philosophy. I don't like what he stand for. But in those spaghetti westerns that he do, love that. Love me some Clint Eastwood. But on his philosophy and what he stands for and what he support, don't like it. Don't like him at all. But he's a good actor. And if we can divide somebody's craft away from their philosophy, you know, we can do a lot better. And another thing, if we look at United States, I know people like to call United States a corporation. I want to call United States is an economic zone. They got you believing they're states, the 50 different states and all that crap. They're economic zones. And like once you cross over to another state, the rules change, you know. So if you're doing self-defense and you cross over to another state, those rules change. Same thing, the gun laws change. A bunch of things change. I think Missouri, you can marry a woman, a female at an extreme young age. I'm talking about somewhere between 12 and 14 years old. So when you cross, Alabama has that same kind of thing. You cross over these states, you can snatch up a young girl. If you get their parents' permission, now you're marrying some chick in high school. You 30 years old marrying some chick in high school. And I'm not advocating, I'm just saying that, you know, we got to stop looking at this United States, how they teach you to look at. It's an economic zone. I was just talking to the producer here in the studio, and I told him I'm trying to stay away from making comments about Donald Trump, but I'm looking at the amount of companies that can contribute this guy's campaign. It's almost like every store has contributed to this guy's campaign, have donated. You have AutoZone, Coors, Buffalo Bill, Home Good, Exxon, Fruit and the Loom, GMC, Hardee's, Miller Bear, LL Bean, Marshalls, the New Orleans Saints, that's not surprising me at all, My Pillow, the New York Yankees, Shell Oil, McDonald's, Wendy's, Jim Dean, Wonder Bread, Enterprise Rental, Barclay, Dunkin' Donuts, Dairy Queen, George Foreman Grill, which is not surprising to me, even though the late George Foreman is no longer with us. Hoover Vacuum, stuff that clean the floors, Vacuum, Leggies, Napa Auto Parts, Boost Mobile, wow, Turkey Wax, Walmart, And that's a lot of companies that donated to Trump. And I know all those billionaires gave a ton of money to, and I think some of it went to Project 2025. So we're talking about the Herod Foundation. But we're coming towards the ending of this broadcast.
Nick Augustino right here at the East Side Restaurant. We always have the complete full dinner menu. Knockwurst, bratwurst, sauerbraten, potato pancakes, red cabbage, rice pudding, cream pies, all the desserts that Germany had to offer. I always do something different. Yes, I do. I brought seafood to the beer garden at the East Side Restaurant. East Side Restaurant, your German destination restaurant in Connecticut. Tiki-taka, hoi, hoi, hoi!
Follow us on Instagram at nutmeg.tv.